increase of 56.46 billion naira, or 13% over the revised 2020 provision. The statutory transfer provisions are: A, Niger Delta Development Commission, 63.51 billion naira. B, Northeast Development Commission, 29.7 billion naira. C, National Judicial Council, 110 billion naira. D, Universal Basic Education Commission, 70.05 billion naira. E, Independent National Electoral Commission, 40 billion naira. F, National Assembly. F, National Assembly. Yeah. Well, I will read that again. F, National Assembly, 128 billion naira. G, Public Complaints Commission, 5.2 billion naira. H, Human Rights Commission, 3 billion naira. And I, Basic Health Care Provision Fund, 35.03 billion naira. In compliance with the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, all beneficiaries of statutory transfers will be required to provide the Budget Office of the Federation with periodic reports on the allocation and expenditure of funds for inclusion in the quarterly budget implementation report. In our efforts to enhance national security and human capital development, a major part of the 2021 recurrent cost estimate is allocated to paying salaries and overheads in MDAs, providing these critical public services. These include: A, 227.02 billion naira for the Ministry of Interior; B, 441.39 billion naira for the Ministry of Police Affairs; C, 545.1 billion naira for the Ministry of Education; D, 840.5 billion naira for Ministry of Defense; E, 380.21 billion naira for Ministry of Health. Personnel costs is still our largest single item of expenditure. In 7 months to 31st July 2020, it accounted for 34% of total federal government spending and is projected at 33% of 2021 expenditure. To check the incidence of payments to non-existent personnel, expenditure controls. An aggregate sum of 3.85 trillion naira is expected to be available for capital projects in 2021 as summarized below. A, 1.8 trillion naira for MDA's capital expenditure. B, 745 billion naira for capital supplementation. C, 355 billion naira for grants and aid-funded projects. D, 20 billion naira for the Family Homes Fund. E, 25 billion naira for the Nigeria Youth Investment Fund. F, 336 billion naira for 60 government-owned enterprises. G, 247 billion naira for capital component of statutory transfers. H, 710 billion naira for projects funded by multilateral and bilateral loans. The 2021 capital budget is 1.15 trillion naira, higher than the 2020 provision of 2.69 trillion naira. At 29% of aggregate expenditure, the provision moves closer to this administration's policy target of 30%. Capital expenditure in 2021 remains focused on the completion of as many ongoing projects as possible, rather than the commencement of new ones. We have also made efforts to ensure equity in the distribution of projects and programs in the proposed budget. I will be providing the National Assembly a list of some of the most critical projects which we must work collectively to ensure they receive adequate funding. Until projects reach completion, they do not deliver the dividends of democracy that Nigerians rightly deserve. Key capital spending allocation in 2021 budget include A, power, 198 billion naira, inclusive 150 billion naira for the power sector recovery plan. B, works and housing, 440 billion naira. C, transportation, 256 billion naira. D, defense, 121 billion naira. E, agriculture and rural development, 110 billion naira. F, water resources, 153 billion naira. G, industry, trade and investment, 51 billion naira. H, education, 127 billion naira. I, Universal Basic Education Commission, 70 billion naira. J, health, 132 billion naira. K, zonal intervention project, 100 billion naira. And L, Niger Delta Development Commission, 64 billion naira. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development will facilitate the integrated development of its sector by promoting crops value chains, as well as providing rural roads, water and sanitation, veterinary and pest control, grazing, food strategic reserves, and access to inputs and extension services. The 157% increase in capital allocation to the health sector is to enhance the capacity to deliver healthcare services through the procurement of equipment, vaccines, and other facilities. 2 centers of excellence, as well as 1 accident in federal teaching hospital in each geopolitical zone. In addition, numerous primary healthcare centers will be equipped and upgraded across the 6 geopolitical zones. Furthermore, funds have been allocated for the expansion of midwives service scheme in the 6 geopolitical zones. To enhance occupational safety, funds have been provided for the provision of personal protective equipment for health workers. The Ministry of Education's capital allocation has been increased by 65% to improve the education of our children. Funds have been provided for the provision of scholarship awards to Nigerian students at home and abroad. We have provided funds for the upgrade of security and other infrastructural facilities in our university colleges nationwide. To improve access to education, we have made provision for the establishment of 5 new federal science and technology and technical colleges. We have also provided for the payment of allowances to 5,000 teachers under the federal teachers scheme. In line with our commitment to invest in transportation infrastructure, capital allocation to the works and housing sector is to facilitate the completion of several critical projects in 2021. I have directed the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning to provide a detailed breakdown of key infrastructural projects in her subsequent press briefing. Key projects for the implementation in the power sector include several rural electrification projects, the 36 states and Abuja, rural electrification access program in federal universities, the Kaduna LPFO gas-fired power plant, the Mambila hydro power project, and the Zingeru hydro power project. Provision had been made for legacy debts owed to local contractors, compensation and resettlement of project-affected communities. The renewable energy, micro-utility solar project, and the construction of transmission lines and substations nationwide. These projects' implementation is expected to have positive impact on electricity supply nationwide, as well as boost productivity and employment. Projects to be implemented by the Ministry of Water Resources in 2021 include provision of potable water in the Northeast, construction of irrigation and dams across the country, and the provision of water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities. The Ministry of Transportation has earmarked funds for projects such as the Lagos-Ibadan-Kano line, Abuja-Kaduna line, Port Harcourt-Maiduguri line, and Itape-Ajakuta-Wari line. These projects, when completed, around the country. To maintain the peace in the Niger Delta region, for economic and social activities to thrive, the provision of 65 billion naira for the Presidential Amnesty Program has been retained in the 2021 budget. In addition, the sum of 63.5 billion naira has been appropriated for the Niger Delta Development Commission and 24.4 7 billion naira has been provided for the capital project of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. These allocations should further support the development of the region by facilitating the completion of important ongoing projects such as the East-West Road. The government is already implementing several measures to overcome our fiscal constraints. In addition to the strategic revenue growth initiatives, we are leveraging technology and automation, as well as more effective monitoring of independently generated revenues. Our efforts are aimed at addressing revenue leakages and redirecting scarce resources to the poor and vulnerable. These efforts include A, deregulation of the price of petroleum products, B, ongoing verification exercise with IPPIS, and C, implementation of service-based electricity tariffs. The new petrol pricing regime has freed up resources that was allocated to subsidize petroleum products. Similarly, the ongoing IPPIS verification exercise has closed gaps that encourage ghost workers or pensioners. The service-reflective electricity tariffs will help resolve the liquidity crisis in the power sector and make the sector attractive to foreign investment. These reforms have released trillions of naira for allocation to other priority areas. Distinguished senators, honorable members, permit me to reiterate that the main thrust of our capital spending program in 2021 is the completion of as many ongoing projects as possible across the country. Accordingly, we have prioritized projects that can be rapidly completed to benefit our people. Distinguished senators and honorable members, I note with satisfaction you and pass the Petroleum Industry Bill into law. The enactment of this bill will boost confidence and attract further investment into our oil and gas sector, as well as increase revenues. I fully understand the difficulties many of our people are going through with the implementation of our reform agenda. However, the measures we are implementing are necessary for sustainable public finance, better allocation of our scarce resources, and improved public service delivery. As we implement these reforms, social safety nets will be implemented to cushion the effect of the most vulnerable of our citizens, as well as business owners. In furtherance of our inclusiveness agenda, the sum of 420 billion naira has been provided to sustain the social investment program. Has also been set aside for the Family Homes Fund, our social housing program. We have expanded our national social register to include an additional 1 million Nigerians following the onset of coronavirus. We recently introduced the 75 billion naira survival fund program to support and protect businesses from potential vulnerabilities. Furthermore, the Central Bank of Nigeria is reducing the interest rate on its intervention facilities for 9% to 5% with 1 year moratorium till 31st March 2021 to provide concessional lending of A, 100 billion naira to households and small businesses. B, 100 billion naira to the healthcare and pharmaceutical industry. And C, 1 trillion naira to large agricultural and manufacturing businesses. We urge Nigerian businesses and individuals to make the most of these concessional credit facilities and other such opportunities. Mr. Senate President, Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable members of the 9th National Assembly, let me use this opportunity to again commend your firm commitment towards ensuring a very harmonious and productive relationship with the executive. It is important to further deepen this relationship in the interest of our people. As you review the 2021 budget estimates, we believe the legislative process will be expedited to ensure its prompt passage to sustain the restoration of a predictable January-December fiscal year. In this regard, I have directed all ministers and heads of agencies to be personally available for budget defense. Let me re-emphasize that Nigerians expect that the 2021 budget will contain only implementable and critical projects, which, when completed, will significantly address current structural challenges of the economy, improve the business environment, and accelerate economic recovery. May I conclude my remarks by commending the National Assembly for its support in steering our economy during these very challenging times. We remain committed to sustaining this partnership. We believe that as we work together, we will jointly deliver on our joint mandate to our people. It is with great pleasure, therefore, that I lay before this distinguished joint session of the National Assembly the 2021 budget proposal of the federal government of Nigeria for your consideration. I thank you for your attention. May God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Amen.